Hello and welcome to Soul Rain Art. I am Rachel Bellamy, and today I'm going to test out Seth Apter's new texture paste by Aladdin, or as Aladdin Creations. Either way, they're fabulous. All right, here are the supplies that we're going to use. So I have this little squeegee tool I got from Folk Art. They sent it to me in the mail, and then I've got these four textures. One is, and I can't really see as I make this, but there's four. One is sandy, one is crackles, one is beady, and then sandy, beads, crackle, and something else, flaky. There we go. Ooh, that was tough. All right, so I'm showing you the four. I have a batch of stencils here. If you want to know, some of them are iZink or iStencil, and some others are by our friend Jackie and her line. So anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take, you're going to see me, I have, oh, I'm sorry, I also have a stack of jelly printed backgrounds. They're kind of just plain backgrounds. They don't have any stencils. They were like ghost prints. I'm going to use them. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one at a time. The first one I think ends up being my favorite. And this one is the crackle. Yes, this one is the crackle. And I'm just going to put it through using this little squeegee. I learned a lot in this process. One of the things I learned is that to get the texture out, it's important to put it on thick so that it can go through the stencil and still keep the shape of the stencils, which is why I like using stencils and texture paste, because if you put enough of the texture paste on, it becomes dimensional, and that's a cool effect. So I pulled out these little face wipes. My husband always laughs at me because I keep them, right? Like I use them on my face, and then I rinse them all out and I put them in a jar and I use them as wipes. Anyway, so I pulled it off. See how nice and dimension it has? Yeah, way cool. Yeah, so that's the crackle one. This next one is, I think it's the flaky. Or sandy. Oh, this is the sandy one. Yes. Okay. So this is sandy. Now, what was interesting about this one is I have apparently distress ink left on this stencil because I don't really clean my stencils. And so it activates and colors. It colors the paste, which is cool too. So that's something else I realized as we were doing it. It was one, you could colorize these probably pre-mixing before you actually went through the stencil, which would be a cool effect. And this was just a happy accident. It was not intentional, but it's going to be a really cool effect. Again, just trying to make it thick enough so that I can hold the dimension so that when it's dry, you see all of the detail of the stencil. And how is everyone doing? Hopefully you're doing well. And thank you for hanging out with me. I always enjoy making these videos and just sharing what I'm running into and trying out. All right, so again, that was the sandy one. And it was cute that the sandy one actually looks like sand. Okay, so next up is the flaky one, I think. Oh, what you see me do here, and I wanted to make this is a news flash, okay? I have a little jar, a little tub of water. I got a little tub of water so that I could clean my stencils. Normally I don't bother to clean them, but when you work with texture paste, it is critical that you clean your stencils. And so I have a little bucket of water down below that I'm dumping the stencils in and actually cleaning them off. Like it's not one of those things where you can wait and come back to it. They need to be cleaned like ASAP or you mess your stencils up. So okay, this next one is the flaky one. And of all of them, I think this is my favorite. I don't know, it's a tough one because I really like the sandy and I really like the crackle. But this one is weird. Like it's got these big, I want to say glitter flakes in them, but they're not glitter. They're these huge crystal-like, glitter is probably a good description if you would think like cake glitter. you know, like the kind you eat. It's real thick and flaky. I guess that's why he calls it flaky, because it is. It's really thick, and it goes on well, and it dries well. So of all of them, I think this one was my favorite, and I was really leery on this one. Like, oh, what is this going to do? You see how big those flakes are? I mean, they're humongous. Okay, now this one is my least favorite. Probably only because of the way I am applying it. On its own, it's probably fascinating, but it does not do very well through a stencil, or at least it didn't do well through this detailed stencil. I probably maybe should have grabbed a stencil that had bigger openings and less detail, because what happens is, oh, the pause in the action as I was cleaning the stencil. Okay, so here I go. I'm trying to figure out which one I'm going to use. And instead of going bigger, I went the opposite direction and got an even more detailed stencil, which was the wrong move. Nevertheless, I'm going to put this beady texture on here, and it is going to have a field day. OMG, watch this. The beads are flying and popping everywhere. It was actually comedy. The beads were literally flying off of out of the paste, because the stencil was so detailed that the beads were just flying everywhere. And so I'm like, that wasn't a success. And so I'm going to try it again, maybe with a little bigger stencil, and I had a little better success, but I don't really know if applying through a stencil is the best application of the beady texture paste. Okay, so now I'm just going to try to give this piece some balance, and yeah. And then I just try, let me just put it on directly and see if that's better. You know, when you're experimenting playing, that's what you do. You just kind of see. So I put it on there kind of haphazardly, randomly, just so that I could get some balance in this print. Okay, now on to the next. And so I also wanted to say, well, since I'm here playing, why don't I use some of the other stuff that I was sent, the pearlies. And so I grabbed the gold texture paste in a minute, and I'm gonna just make a quick little, I mean, I had the backdrops, and I was playing, and everything needed to dry. So why not, right? This stencil, this gorgeous stencil here, is from the fabulous Jackie of the Artisan Cachet on Etsy, and Jackie Jameson, who's also on Seth Apter's team, and she made this stencil, and I absolutely love this stencil. Okay, so we're going to dry all of these experiments, these testers, in a minute. And oh, I'm still going to play. I'm going to put some more layers on here so that I can just kind of balance out the page. And so I got the smaller version of this stencil so that I could just have a repeated pattern, right? So one of the things that I do, and I recommend, is buying, if a stencil comes in a big size and a small size, don't be afraid to get them both, because the repeated pattern, both in the big and the small, it is, I love that concept of repeating the big and the small pattern on a piece of art. I'm sorry, I got distracted. Anyway, so I'm going to spend a little time drying. I'm not going to make you watch it, but here is the crackle, and you can see it actually crackling, which was really cool. And I think because, you know, it was already a lightish background and a light paste, you really can't see it actually crackle, but it's there, trust me. This is the sand one. It is really cool that the paste got colorized by the distress paint. And I think we're going to dry these off and then move on to decorating them, which is always a fun part. All right, so here we go. Now that we have 4 pieces and they're dry, and I'm going to show them to you. So again, here's the crackle. You can see the crackle if you look closely at there you go. You can see the crackle. Look at my hand. Yay! It really crackles, which was really cool. I learned in one of Seth's workshops to dry the art from both the paper from both the top and the bottom to help it dry. And so that's what I did. And my little finger is trying to make the camera focus. You know, they never play along. Okay, here's the sandy one. And if you look closely, you can see that, you can feel it, but you can also see the little sand in there. Isn't that cool? All right, and then the next one is the flaky one. Again, my favorite, because I did not expect it. It really is these big snowflakes. That's what it's like. It's like having snowflakes inside the texture. So that was a lot of fun. There you go. See it? Little big old flakes. And then my least favorite for this application, that's all I'm saying, for this application was the beady, because the beads just popped out everywhere. They were all over the place. It was comedy. But it did dry well. It did dry well. All right, so now the fun part where we get to just play and decorate. Now, so I learned a couple lessons here too. I'm on the side, you see me using some of Seth's honey, his dye ink and honey. And what I realized was this texture paste was acting almost as a resist, and I was not expecting that. And so I just said go with it, and I just kind of decide to just spray the paper then if it's going to resist the white, and we just added some more color to the page kind of randomly. There was no rhyme or reason at that point, because what I was trying to do was I was trying to actually color the stencil, but it acted as a resist. And so mental note for the record would be to colorize the paste before applying it through the stencil. Okay, and then this next one is, I have them all behind me, so I'm going to pull them out. This is the flaky one. Same deal. It forms as a resist. And so I am going to just try to do something with it. I thought maybe if I used an acrylic paint that the paint would sit on top of the texture paste. And it kind of did, but not so much. Watch, I'm going to take it off. And it was like, yeah, that didn't work. So we just go with it and we keep moving. I think that's kind of what happens when you're making art, and you just kind of see what happens, and you go through the motion. And then you just create, you know, something. Look for the beauty in the pictures or in the things that you're creating. And so that was me playing and trying to create something out of this. My big takeaway was that the texture paste does act like a resist, which is a cool effect if that's what you're going for, right? So like when I realized that was what was going to happen, I just utilized it that way. And so here is the one that is sand. I just sprayed it with some of the dye ink, and it colorized the white parts of the page and unified the page a little bit. And I think I have one more I have to do. And all right, so here I am still trying. So what happened was I put too much color down, and so I'm going to try to kick back the color a little bit by applying some white or like some parchment color acrylic paint, just to kind of kick it back, because what happened was I had the sand colored texture paste, and then I put that color on, and it just became one big orange blobbish. Anyway, so apparently I have a new jar of paint here, and I just if you have liked what you see, if you like these kind of videos, just please give me a like and leave a comment if you like when I experiment. And just for the sheer joy of experimenting, I had no intentions of making any kind of masterpieces. I literally wanted to just play and have a good time and give myself permission to do that. So here I am using Seth's what are those, pigment inks? I think they're in these little fingernail polish jars. I really like them, but it didn't do what I wanted to do. Again, apparently I was really determined to try to paint these raised textures, and that was not the case. And so I just had to work around. And so here what I'm doing is basically outlining the raised images and creating some dimension with the Eyes Ink pigment ink in chestnut. Has quickly become one of my favorites. And I'm not going to do all of them. I'm just kind of going to do them random. So what I tried to do was, because I had that boo-boo at the top, I had to recreate that same mistake down at the bottom so it looked like that was intentional. See, it's all in how you clean up the happy accidents, right? All right, so here I am just kind of loosely, abstractly recreating the shapes of the stencils. And then I smudged and made another mistake, but rolling, you just kind of keep going, right? And then just embrace what it is. Like, at the end, it all is going to work out, right? So I have recently, if you're on my Instagram channel, which I would recommend that you follow me on Instagram because I share how art is how I process emotions and my own spiritual journey. And so this past week or so, I've been doing some work on resistance and non-resistance and OMG. And one of the things that I was learning about non-resistance is to not, we give power when we resist, right? And so sometimes we just have to embrace what is, right? And look for the good in it and ask yourself, is there any other way, or I can look at this that would lead me to peace or ease as situations present themselves. So I am making these marks. This is, if you follow me on YouTube, you know I make a lot of marks, my tribal marks. It's actually when I'm praying. This is how I meditate when I start to make these marks, is where I'm listening to what the art is trying to say, as well as what my soul is trying to say as it dances and creates the art. And so I pull out my little brushes, and these brushes are by Lebazon paint brushes, and there'll be a link in the description, and I have a coupon code. He's always so generous and gives me a coupon code to give to my followers, and you can get 20% off this month if you get some brushes. And so look in the description box for the coupon code. And this brush in particular is one of his synthetic brushes. I adore the synthetic brushes. I like the real ones, but I know also that I sometimes am hard on brushes. And so the synthetic brushes I can use with acrylic paint, and I can use with sumi ink, and not be overly conscious of the fact that maybe I didn't completely clean it out. But I'm getting better about cleaning my brushes as I get more expensive brushes. I'm learning to be a better steward. So anyway, check out the description box. And again, I am just making some marks. And if you were in the room, I actually have scriptures playing, and I am meditating on them while I make these marks and having my communion time with the Lord. So if you would love for you to check out my channel, and I have some free papers that you can always download if you just want to see some of my art and incorporate it into your collages and art journals. I would be honored, and just tag me on Instagram because it just blesses me to see my art being incorporated. So I'm showing you here that this brush is called the Small Orange Synthetic, and it's only $25. And if you can get the 20% off, it's even less than that. So thank you so much. I hope that you run out and order some of these materials. And thank you so much for watching, and have a great day. May your soul reign. Bye.